Hey guys, welcome to Power BI lesson number 6. Today I'm gonna show you the different ways to connect to databases and also why you should avoid using DirectQuery only. Instead of this, you can use Composite Models where you have aggregated tables in import mode and also detailed tables in DirectQuery. So, whenever you have huge data in a database, most people think that the only solution, the only way to work with this data is by connecting directly to the source. But there are some important steps previous to this, previous to using DirectQuery only, that you can apply. For example, you can optimize your model. Instead of bringing all the table, all the rows and all the columns from the tables, you can select only the columns you need and only, of course, the rows you need as well. So do not perform a select star to the table. Don't do this. Select the columns you need only and always. Also, inside Power BI Desktop, you can use only a piece of the data, only a small piece of the data. You don't need all the rows from this data to develop, right? You need all the rows from this data to visualize. And to visualize, you use Power BI Online. So for this, try to use always incremental refresh. And I have a video here on YouTube about incremental refresh. What else? Okay, let's suppose you already made all optimizations and you are using incremental refresh and it's still too much data. Then you can use composite models. You can import some aggregated tables and also connect directly to detailed tables. So you can mix both types of connection to the data source. Let's see this, okay? So this lesson is being recorded because right now I am recording videos to my course, to my Power BI Experience course. If you want to find other videos in English here on YouTube, you can search for this tag, EN. This lesson is going to be public for 7 days only. After this, it goes to my course and only my students can watch. Just lessons 1 to 4, I'm going to keep as public here, okay? Materials will be shared only in my Telegram channel and the link is in the description below. We're going to repeat Power BI Week in early 2021, okay? And also check my blog, which has also the link here in the description below. There are very nice articles there. So what are the ways to connect to our database? So we have 2 ways to connect to the database, by importing the data or by connecting directly to the source, by using the server to compute everything. There is a third option for analysis services only, which is the live connection. We're not gonna cover this today, okay? So a live connection is when you create your model in analysis services, and then you'll make a live connection to this model there. So don't worry about this. We're gonna cover today import versus DirectQuery. And when we import, we have a very fast model. Very fast model, okay? So the model is fast, which means the numbers or the visuals appear fast. The user sees the number very quickly. You'll slice and dice, and of course, if everything is optimized, is correct, the user is gonna see everything very fast. So it's very fast. Why? Because Power BI caches the data into the memory of your machine, or when you publish, into the memory of Power BI service. Okay, so it's a database in memory, and Power BI applies a compression and encoding to these columns, so it can reduce the size of your data. So it doesn't matter, for example, if you have 10 gigabytes on your table, on your server, on your database. Because Power BI it's gonna compress. And also, remember, I'm always gonna say this to avoid bringing the table, all the rows and all the columns from this table, the complete table. Avoid doing this, okay? Always select the columns you need. Start slow, and then you can grow later. You can add new columns later. Okay, what else? There is a limit here. This is the downside. There is a limit of 1 gigabyte per dataset or model for pro accounts. For premium accounts, which is much more expensive, then it's higher. But okay, 1 gigabyte for a PBIX file is huge, or for a dataset is huge. It's a lot of data. When I came close to this, I could reduce a lot just by optimizing this model. Removing columns I don't need, or creating aggregations, as I'm gonna show. So you have alternatives before going to DirectQuery. So DirectQuery should not be an excuse for you to use because your model is close to this size. No, okay? All right, so DirectQuery, it has, in my opinion, okay, it's my opinion, it has a very important, there is one single advantage that I do not have in import mode, which is near real time. For those who need real-time data connected to the data source, connected to a SQL Server, Oracle, and so on, you can use DirectQuery. But in my opinion as well, the real-time data is not something, it's different from BI. BI and real-time are different things, but you can achieve near real-time using DirectQuery. And in import mode, let me put this way, you can refresh the data 8 times, or the dataset 8 times a day. Okay, 8 times a day you can schedule this refresh in the service. And DirectQuery, you don't need to schedule refresh because it's always real data. It's always real-time data. But then it's extremely slow. It's very slow. Why? Because the data it still resides in my server, right? My backend server. So there is this latency to go there and to send the data, send the query. Then my server computes those queries you are asking it to compute, and then it goes back to the end user. It goes back to the interface, to Power BI. So all queries that I place in my model, for example, a measure that I drop in my model, this query is translated into a SQL statement that goes to my server computes and gives back the result. Okay, so all the heavyweight is performed by my server. So imagine 100 people are connecting at the same time to a model, to a report, connected using DirectQuery, and they start to slice and dice. My server is gonna explode. My server is gonna explode. And if you are using a transactional database, even worse, right? You have to be very careful to use the correct server, or to use at least a data warehouse for doing DirectQuery. Do not perform DirectQuery in transactional databases. Otherwise, your server, your system, your ERP can crash, and it happens. Okay, so all the pressure is in the server, so be very careful about that. Also, there is another advantage, that is the following: the PBIX file, PBIX, is small. This is not an advantage. This is just a statement. Okay. All right. we're gonna see the difference between import and DirectQuery regarding the PBIX file, the size of the PBIX, okay, and also this performance in the model. The fact that I have a large PBIX file, as for example in import mode, does not mean that I have slow performance or a bad performance. Because if my model is optimized, I am okay, I'm fine. Let me open Power BI, okay? So I have Power BI here, and let's get data from SQL Server. Wait, I could click there. SQL Server. I have a local SQL Server in my machine that I'm gonna use it here, localhost. And there you choose between import and DirectQuery. Also, you can apply some SQL statements here, which I do not recommend, and this I'm gonna cover in other lessons. I prefer always to use views inside my database instead of writing the SQL here. But this is topic for another lesson. Let's do a DirectQuery, okay? DirectQuery just changed, okay. It's gonna show all my databases inside this server, and I'm gonna use Composite Retail Data Warehouse, and I created a very big table just to compare this performance. So let me remember which tables I should get from this. I have an import mode as well here, the DIN date, DIN product, okay, dimensions, subcategory, this one, DIN store, and my fact. And I have here this fact online sales that I created. This is not from the original Composite Retail database because I just made it bigger. Let's load. So it's gonna load. Actually, it's gonna perform a direct connection. It's not gonna import anything, okay? So you see, it's very fast here. It's gonna be very fast, just creating the connection. And when I save this, come on, just because I said it's fast. My machine is very slow because I have an import mode there. You're gonna understand later, okay? Let me save it. And let me go there. This is gonna be the DirectQuery. So DQ, like this. Okay, guys. So let me just insert a text box just to say that this is DirectQuery, like this. Just to be very clear. Okay. Now look at the size of this file. Let's see here. This is in DirectQuery, and I have right here an import mode. The same tables as you can see. This is import, this is DirectQuery, okay? And I have 114 million rows. It's a nice database. It's a nice table for this table, okay? It's a nice one. Let's see the difference between the files. See, DirectQuery and import. Look at the difference. Okay, so here I have 586 megabytes, and here only 49 kilobytes. The difference is huge in the size, but you're gonna see that the difference is huge also in performance. So in import mode, I have right here a visual that's gonna show sales by subcategory. To see how long it's gonna take to render, to show the visual, I can go to View, open here Performance Analyzer, start recording, and then I'm gonna change to this page and see how long it took. Very fast, right? So the DAX query only 154 milliseconds. That's it. Let's make another thing here, Let's change, or let's include here another column. For example, return quantity, or let's see, sales quantity, okay? Let's go there, let's see. Very fast, very fast. So this is import mode. Now I'm gonna change to DirectQuery. Okay, there we go. Let's open again the View Performance Analyzer tab. Let's start recording, and I'm gonna create another page, and let's copy and paste this. Let me remove again quantity. Okay, so I'm gonna copy this. As the column names are the same, it's gonna work. Copy and this as well. Copy, Control C, and let's wait for a very long time here. Paste. Let's see how long it's gonna take. Okay, there you go. 53 seconds, 54 seconds almost each one. Each one 54 seconds. Make the math to see the difference between those. Between this and import mode. So it's very different, okay? Same numbers, you can see, same numbers, same visuals, everything the same, but much better performance in the import mode. Okay, but I have a problem. My import mode, when I use import mode, my file goes to 2 gigabytes. So I cannot use import mode. Then that's when optimization for your model comes in. For example, do I need a online sales key in my fact table? No, I don't use for anything. So let's remove, let's delete. I do not need a primary key to my fact table. I can perform count rows just by using the count rows function, like this one. Okay, the count rows function. I don't need to use the key for that. Also, let's see, for example, sales order line number. If I don't use it, let's delete. Okay, let's delete. Sales order number as well. Just to show you that, removing three columns, we're gonna have a much smaller file. Let's save it. 3 columns, let's save it. We're gonna see the new size. Let's wait a bit. Okay, it's working. Okay, let's see now. See, 124. From almost 600 to 124 just by removing 3 columns. Huge, right? I'm gonna cover how to know which columns to delete or how to optimize your model in another session. This one is just to show you in a few minutes, how to use composite models. All right. Now, another very important point is the following. Here I am bringing all rows from this table. Usually, you don't need this. So, in order to make your development faster, the model is fast. You saw, the model is fast. But now the development might be a little bit slow. Depends on your machine. You must have memory in your machine. It must be a good machine, right? But another thing you can do, you should do, is to work with incremental refresh. When you work with incremental refresh and use only a small piece of this data, just some rows to develop, things are gonna be much easier for you in the development phase. Only when you publish is that you need all the data. So incremental refresh works fine like this, works like magic. It's very nice, okay? Look for my other video about incremental refresh here on YouTube. You're gonna understand everything about this. So which one is better? The import one, when I have big files but fast models, or this one, DirectQuery, when the file is small but I have very poor performance. Of course, the import mode. Okay, but I did everything you just said. I optimized everything. I am using incremental refresh, but still I have too much data. It's still too big. It's still too large. Okay, then you must go to aggregations. Then you must choose how to work with composite models. which is the following. You import some tables that are summarized or aggregated, and others, the detailed tables, you bring as you do not bring. You connect directly to them, so you can mix those. Let's see how this works. Let me close this import one. Let me close. Okay. Here I have the DirectQuery, right? I'm gonna save this. Save as. So you have to start from a DirectQuery mode, from a DirectQuery model, and then you're gonna change some tables, or you're gonna import some tables that are summarized, and then those tables are gonna be imported, and others are gonna be in dual mode. I'm gonna explain. Let's see. So start always, if you want to use composite models, start always with DirectQuery mode, DirectQuery connection to all tables. Let's call this X, okay, or composite models. Composite model. All right, I have here in my database a view. I just created a view to summarize this table. Okay, so to summarize this fact table into, let me remember. So this is using the granularity for product is product key. You can see there's a product key. I'm gonna summarize this to subcategory of the product. So I'm gonna make it less detailed, this view. So let's go to home, transform data. Let's go to Power Query, it's easier to understand. And let's go here to new source. It's gonna be a SQL as well, SQL Server. How do you create aggregated tables? Then you can do this in SQL with the group by function, correct? Group by, or inside Power Query. Using here, I'm gonna show you. In transform, you have also a group by. My opinion, always try to do this as soon as possible in the source. Server, localhost. So it's gonna be import now. So I'm changing to import because I'm gonna import this summarized table in the same database, in this one, okay? Fact online sales X, aggregated. It's gonna take a while because the group by operation, it consumes a little bit of our machine, of our server, okay? So I'm gonna wait for a moment. Okay, so it just finished here to connect to this data, and you can see that I have the date key, the product subcategory key, the number of rows for this combination of date and product subcategory, and the total sales amount. As I said, this was done, this aggregation was done in SQL with SQL language, just by using the group by function, the group by statement. In Power Query, you could do the following. For example, you could duplicate this table, the original one, right? The detailed one, and on transform, you can group by. Very similar. Now let's close and apply to bring this data to Power BI. Close and apply. Now it's gonna load data to the model, and we're gonna wait a little bit more. Okay, so it's finished. Let me change this page because it's still computing there. Let me clear this performance analyzer. Let me close for now. And now it's gonna be DirectQuery plus import or composite model. Okay, we can see now the following. Now this option is available. Before it wasn't, because when I have only DirectQuery, I cannot see the data. And you can see that only in my view table, in my summarized table, I can see, right? So I'm gonna call this fact X. Okay, just rename it. And in here, this is the magic. This is where the magic happens. Let me upgrade, because now I'm gonna place the fact table right there. And let me just put the date table here. The store goes there. The product goes here. And see. Now, This table, you can see that if you hover the mouse, you see the storage mode. Oh, sorry. Storage mode import. Here, storage mode DirectQuery. Let's relate these tables together. Product subcategory key to this. So that's it. Okay. Okay. And now, where is it? Date key to date key. Date key to date key. Okay. Now there's something you must care, that you must be very, very careful about. The following. You can see that I have an imported table right there. This table connected to this aggregated table is in DirectQuery. So I am mixing two tables, two storage modes, two different storage modes in this relationship. I don't want this. I want this table to act as imported when relating to this one, and acting as DirectQuery when I use this table. So it must be a dual mode to this one and to this one as well. You can do this by changing the storage mode, clicking on the table, and rare advanced, you can change this to dual. See, setting the storage mode to dual. Okay, never mind. Okay, you can see the difference there. It's now all striped. Also, date, advanced, dual. All right. So this is how it works. When I build a visual using a column from this table, okay, which is imported, and from date table, it's gonna grab these values from this table from the imported version of the date. On the other hand, when I use from this one with date, it will use data that is inside my server, that is in my server, or the data that is in DirectQuery mode. So both this one and this one acts in dual mode. That's what dual mode means. All right, let's try something here. So date. Let's go, for example, date key, and from the aggregated table, let's go with total sales. Very fast. You can see very fast, right? Number of rows, you can see there. All right. But this is not optimal. This is not the best way to work with this summarized data, because the end user would be very confused, right? Which table should I use? The end user wouldn't know about this one and this one. It's very difficult for him or she, for him or her, to understand which one I should use. Then Power BI has this option to go with the right click in the Eggs table and manage aggregations. Manage aggregations, and here you configure this property. Date key from this Eggs table, we don't do anything, any type of summarization of this column. So leave as is. Subcategory key is a group by, right, from the product and from the column product subcategory key. The number of rows, it's just a count table rows from fact online sales, which is in DirectQuery. And total sales amount is a sum of fact online sales from the column sales amount. There you go. All right. When I apply, you're going to see that Power BI is going to hide this table. So the end user does not need to know about this X table. Let's see now what happens when I use, for example, let's change this to product subcategory key and subcategory key name. There we go. What if I use now, let's build first a measure. It's gonna be more beautiful. Total sales, the measure. Total sales is a sum of sales amount. Then this is the most important part for you now. Always, but always, when you build measures, use the detailed tables. Why? Because Power BI will know from which table I should grab the data. From the imported version, which is the X version, or from the detailed version, which is in the server. Power BI will know because you just configured this, you manage those aggregations in that window. Okay? So always use the detailed version. This does not mean it's gonna grab data from the detailed version always. If I use a column that can grab data from the imported version, it's gonna work. It's gonna grab data from the imported version. Let's see. We can see just by looking to just by looking how fast this is gonna be. Go there. Very fast. Very, very fast. What if, oh, how can I prove this is correct? How can I prove that Power BI did not brought data from my server? This way. Go to View, Performance Analyzer, Start Recording. And let's just refresh visuals. Refresh visuals. And then you can copy query. Okay. Go to your notes, and paste. You're gonna see here, everything is DEX query only. Now, let's use a column that I do not have in my X table. For example, if I want to drill down this to product. So if I place product together, or brand name, for example, there, it's gonna take a while because now it's gonna go to the server. It's gonna use the DirectQuery table. Okay, just finished. Now do the same. Copy query and paste in here. You're gonna see there is a lot of SQL query as well, SQL statements there, right? When you have that, it's because Power BI is going to the server. It's using SQL and not only DEX. There you go, okay? So to finish, do this, configure your composite model, and try to use those columns or those tables, or columns from those tables that I do not have in my X table, in, for example, in pages where you can drill through to, or in visuals that have the drill down option, because I could do the following. I could change this to a matrix, and let's place the brand name there. You can see it's fast because brand name is below subcategory name. But when I drill down, then it's gonna be slow. Let me open just one like this. Okay, but it's gonna be faster than showing all brand names together at the same time, because it's gonna be only one. It's gonna be a filtered subcategory name. I don't know if it's gonna be faster or not, but always try to use these detailed columns in drill down or drill through, right? And it took 45 seconds. So it's still very slow, but it works. I hope you enjoyed. This is something very important for those who work with database. It's not everything, okay? It's not everything about performance, about optimization. As I said, we're gonna have more lessons about performance and optimization. And then we're gonna see how to use the Vertipack Analyzer, DAX Studio, and so on. I hope you enjoyed. See you in the next lesson.